Welcome back to another video, and this one we're going to be hopping in the boat with Tom Huynh. He's going to share some interesting insights that'll help you catch more walleyes the rest of this open water season. So without further ado, I'm going to throw it off to Tom. He's going to talk a little bit about color choice.
All right, so a lot of you know that my favorite colors out there are, you know, I'm always talking about the black jig heads and the black plastics, and one of my other jig heads that I like to use is green pumpkin, and this is why. I mean, it's no secret that, you know, leeches are one of the best forage for walleyes in the upper Midwest over here. And you'll see here I've got, you know, the black eye candy minnow and the green pumpkin eye candy grub right next to live leeches. And these two color leeches, I mean, that's what you get when you go to a bait shop. And so that's why, for me anyway, that's my confidence colors, and that's why I'm always talking about these two. And you know, a lot of you, some of my co-anglers this year on the circuit too, thought I was crazy pulling out black everything, but it definitely works. And this is exactly why. I've always thought, once I started walleye fishing, when I saw these leeches, I'm like, well, these leeches look exactly like the plastic colored green pumpkin. And this is the first time I'm actually getting to show you how close in color these actually are.
Next up, Tom is going to talk about finding and chasing fish that are up in shallower water. There's obviously a conception that when you get to summer, you get to fall, you know, you're going to be fishing out deep, and that's just not always the case. Tom's going to talk a little bit about some of his experience up in shallower water.
All right, so the last few years, you know, studying walleye behavior and stuff like that, and you know, the general consensus is, you know, when watching old YouTube videos, reading magazine articles, is summertime, the walleyes move a little bit deeper. They go to these weed edges, they go out to the basin, they sit out there in the cooler water. But you know, in my short experience here in the last couple years, everywhere I go, I'm finding walleyes shallow. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's 90 degrees out, water temp is hitting 80. I'm confident that every body of water, every system has shallow walleyes in. When I'm talking shallow, I'm talking between 4 and 8 feet, even. And the thing is about those shallow walleyes, you know, we're out there on the weekends. Some of us can't get out but on the weekends and take the kids fishing, things like that. And we want to put fish in the live well. We want to fish fry. So if we're out there and looking for those deep fish, sometimes those are harder to catch. So always keep in mind, use your electronics, use your side scan, use your forward-facing sonar. Look for those fish shallow, and it's a good time. I mean, don't overlook shallow areas in the summer.
Now, Tom is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to just mastering forward-facing sonar, and in this next segment he's going to talk a little bit about how he goes about finding fish with that technology, and just some of his thoughts as it pertains to just getting better with any of your technology, whether that's forward-facing sonar, side imaging, or any of the above.
All right, so one of the biggest questions I get is, or comments, either way, people say, you know, how do you find walleyes on your forward-facing sonar? How do you know what you're looking at? Or they tell me I can't find fish on my forward-facing sonar or my live scope. But you know, people are seeing the right fish. They are, but you're not putting the time in to cast at all these fish, to cast at all these marks. Use your confidence baits. Throw a live bait on, throw a crawler on, throw a minnow on. Cast at all these marks, look at their reactions, and the more times you do that, the more dialed in your eyes get to your electronics. You know, we spend, you know, a lot of money on these things, so I've heard so many people just put them on their boats, try it for a few days, and then they sell it, or put it in storage. I mean, you know, get out there, use your electronics, and you're seeing the right fish. all of you are seeing the right fish. Just cast to them, be patient, and once you get it dialed in, and then it's just like riding a bike. You know, sometimes it takes time. It takes time on the water, but that's my advice is take your time, go out on a calm day. You don't need wind to catch walleyes. Okay, that's another thing I've learned. Go out on a calm day where it's easy to run your boat, run your electronics, and spend time learning what these marks mean on your electronics.
Now earlier in this video, Tom talked about how he likes to target fish in shallow water. Shallow water isn't just a springtime thing. You can find fish in the shallows during the summer, during the fall. But in this next segment, he's going to talk about a time when he was fishing a tournament and he actually had to slide out into deeper water, and he had a lot of success out there. But the whole point of this whole discussion is just the fact that you need to be willing to change your preconceptions. You need to be willing to look around and find fish in areas where you wouldn't normally look or where you weren't planning on looking. But I'm not gonna steal the lead from Tom here. I'm gonna pass it off to him, and he's gonna talk a little bit about his experience in this event.
All right, so a lot of you know I like to look for walleye shallow. Doesn't matter the time of year. I'll start shallow, work my way deep if I need to. But I think in every system there are shallow walleyes, and I just came off an NWT tournament where in pre-fishing I found some really good fish shallow where typically they aren't supposed to be on that system. And I was pretty confident going into the tournament, but one thing I learned, and you know, I'm still piecing this together as, you know, I'm in my third full year fishing walleyes now, and I'm learning a lot of valuable information, you know, and with every single event, whether I win a tournament or come in the middle or even last, I'm learning all the time. But from this specific event, the whole entire practice, you know, it's 90 degrees, 100 degrees, pretty calm, very hot. But the fish were shallow, which is odd if you're trying to compare with conventional wisdom. But the day before the tournament, we had a lightning storm, rain. I thought the rain was gonna affect it, but it didn't. I thought the rain was gonna affect the water clarity where I was, but in the end, that wasn't the deal that moved my fish. So what it was is the barometric pressure and the lightning storm. So that is something to keep in mind. So if you're, it doesn't have to be tournament fishing. Like if you take a vacation, you take a week off, that's your only week off of the year, but you have, you know, a storm comes through with a bunch of lightning and you have you're on shallow fish. All those fish did was go look for the nearest, deepest water where there's structure around so they can feel safe. I believe, you know, that lightning storm, the barometric pressure. So the pressure, it's just like us, for example, going up into an airplane. The pressure changes, our ears want to pop, we're uncomfortable. But we understand as humans what that is. Fish, when it happens to them, they feel that pressure, they're confused. They have no idea what's happening to them, so they get in a funk. They move deeper to try to equalize that pressure, and they just turn off in essence. So now I'm learning just to move a little bit deeper, move my bait slower, use even more finesse than what I typically do, and that way, you know, my tournaments can be more productive. But then also, it's not just tournaments, it's, like I said, going out on the weekend, spending time with your family, just knowing when to move deep, what weather conditions to look for, and it could make us all more productive.
All right, next up, Tom is gonna discuss one of the biggest mistakes that he sees anglers making when they're using forward-facing sonar to target walleyes.
It's no secret, I, you know, like to track down fish with my Garmin Live Scope, and so a lot of mistakes we make when we're out there. One of the biggest mistakes are, you know, when we're out there and we see a fish, we're focused on that one fish. We're trying to get that fish to bite. For me, if I cast at that fish and I don't get a reaction, I know I have to get the bait closer to that fish. Sometimes I think I'm getting it within an inch of their face, and I probably am, but it's weird, they don't move. They have no reaction. Sometimes I have to actually hit that fish. And with my, you know, I'm pitching tungsten jigs almost exclusively now, and there's times I've gotten that jig wrapped around a fin, or I hit the fish, I can feel it, and then that fish will turn and look at the bait. The other thing is, sometimes we're in super clear water, and we know for a fact that there's no way that that fish could not have seen our jig. It did, but we have to get it sometimes even closer. Now that being said, once you get a reaction from a fish, if the fish just swims down, looks at your bait for a little bit and swims off, I'll give him a second cast. If it does the same exact thing again, done. I move on to the next fish. You got to be more efficient to put more fish in that live well for your fish fry or in tournaments, whatever your goal is, but don't spend too much time on that one fish. If it's not in the mood, it's not in the mood. If it's a giant, if you're looking for that personal best for pictures and you see it, you know that's a big fish, he won't bite, she won't bite, leave her alone, come back a couple hours later, she'll still be in the area, she will, and she'll probably bite then, but don't waste too much time tracking down a fish trying to make it bite.
Well, that's about all we got for you in this one. Special thanks to Tom for sharing some really good detailed information that'll help you catch more fish. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something, make sure to hit that little red subscribe button down below, because we have a lot more awesome content coming for you in the future. And until then, we will see you in the next one.